The next stop of our journey is Omashu, a mighty Earth Kingdom city that's been built on an isolated mountain in a way that only Earthbenders can. When the gang first arrives, they get up to some nonsense with the city's delivery system, channels that travel from top to bottom and which are used to transport goods. Aang explains that 100 years ago, he used to slide down these channels with his friend Baumi. Team Avatar then recreates this activity, Aang having a great time and everybody else fearing for their life. Until they crash, which results in a poor innocent cabbage merchant having his cabbages destroyed. This is a recurring character that shows up as a running gag, always with a cabbage cart that is then destroyed in one way or another, followed by the scream, "My cabbages!" The cabbage merchant has no proper role in the story, but is a fan favorite because he's funny, which is why he got 2 cards, both of which are quite powerful. They both have food-related abilities that center around creating and sacrificing food, which is appropriate. He always shows up with new cabbages that are then destroyed. But again, he isn't really important to the story, so there isn't much else to be said about him. The havoc caused by Aang leads to the group being captured and dragged in front of the king of Omashu, an old, decrepit-looking man that declares their punishment shall be a feast. He then demands Aang complete 3 trials. To ensure that Aang does, he places creeping crystal on both Katara and Sokka, which is a fast-growing rock that will soon encompass their entire body. The first trial, which isn't depicted on any card, has Aang gather a key suspended underneath a waterfall. He does so via a combination of throwing a rock and airbending. Important note, he isn't earthbending. He can't do that yet, he just throws a rock. The second trial tosses Aang into an arena with a small rabbit-like creature and a giant ape-shaped monster. He's tasked to return the king's pet Flopsy. At first he's scared of the ape and runs from it, but then he figures out that that's actually Flopsy, who's mostly harmless. For the final trial, the king has 2 scary-looking warriors come up to the left and right of him. He tells Aang to point at who he would like to face in a one-on-one battle. Aang carefully considers his options, and in an attempt to outsmart, points at the old king himself, who then throws off his coat and reveals an impressive muscular physique. "Wrong choice," he says. Turns out the king is a master earthbender himself, and Aang can only fight him to a draw, but the king still considers this good enough to pass. With the 3 trials cleared, Aang demands that his friends be freed. But the king asks him one final question. "What's my name?" Aang, at first upset by this sudden change in the terms of their agreement, finally realizes who he had been dealing with. His old friend Baumi. The crystals are then revealed to never have been dangerous at all, and rather that it was edible rock candy, which is why the card creates food tokens. Baumi then explains that Aang has a difficult task ahead of him. The world has changed a lot over the past 100 years, and if Aang ever wants to defeat the Fire Lord, he has a lot to learn. He needs to become adaptable and think like a mad genius. The trials were meant to help him become better at that. The 2 then share a moment, cruising down the delivery channels together, crashing into the poor cabbage merchant again. There are 3 Baumi cards. We'll talk about 2 right now. Baumi, King of 3 Trials, is a green 6-mana 4/4 that when he enters, lets us choose between 3 modes. We can either put 3 +1/+1 counters on him, let the target player scry free, or earthbend free. We get to choose as often as we have lesson cards in our graveyard, although we can't choose the same mode multiple times, effectively capping him at 3 lessons. This card clearly represents Baumi and his 3 trials, although the choices here are a bit weird. Putting 3 counters on himself is his big reveal that he's actually a powerful earthbender. Letting target players scry free represents him sharing his wisdom, giving others the opportunity to accumulate knowledge, which is fantastic. While this will certainly be mostly used to make yourself scry free, the option of passing it along is a great way to enhance the flavor of the card. The last option then is Earthbend Free, showcasing that Baumi is a powerful earthbender. Yeah, option 1 and 3 are mostly the same, which I think is a missed opportunity. I feel like something should have been done with clues here, as Baumi's trials are all a part of a larger riddle, and particularly the first one required Aang to think outside of the box. Or, have Baumi create a Flopsy token. Baumi, Eclectic Earthbender, is a green 5-mana 4/4 that earthbends 1 when he enters. Then, whenever he attacks, he puts 2+1/+1 counters on each land creature we control. This card doesn't depict a moment from the show, but rather projects Baumi's vibe as a fighter and diplomat. He prefers large, dramatic actions rather than many small ones. In the card we see this as he earthbends only a single time and then focuses on powering through with that alone.